Hello, everyone. I am Dan Stapleton,
And I am Vince Ingenito.
and we are defending this grid.
We are defending the hell out of this grid right now.
This is Defense Grid 2. It's a game I have reviewed, and very favorably, I might add. It's a sequel to Defense Grid: The Awakening, which is like probably my favorite tower defense game of all time.
Excellent tower defense game.
It's pretty spectacular. This one is it's better in some ways and not as good in others. Making it very recommendable, but also, with some caveats.
Yeah, with some tempered expectations in some areas.
So the idea, of course, is that you are building towers to defend against these aliens who are going to come out of here any second now.
Hence tower defense.
There they are. Look at them go.
Defend that tower, Dan.
Yeah. So, you can see from the the graphics aren't super hot, but you get the idea of what's going on. These guys are bad. They're coming over here to steal your goodies. They're trying to get over here. They're going to follow this path the whole way. And it's your job to make them dead.
And one of the things I really love about Defense Grid, and it carries over here in Defense Grid 2, is also that on some of the levels, you have a little bit more freedom in how you can shape their path by blocking them off from with different kinds of turrets and stuff.
Right. This is not one of those levels. But
no, it's not.
But actually, that would be a good way to show off. Unfortunately, this is not one of those levels, but a good way to show off the new boost towers.
Oh yeah.
These things are great for blocking the way. They're also good for raising your towers up a little bit. They can be used to add an extra little power boost as well, or score boost. So there's they do add a couple of ways in this to spend your money on things other than raw firepower, which is cool.
Right. One of the other things they allow you to do is on some levels you can actually open up new parts of the map or alter the structure of a level by spending some resources. Right. You can do that there. And I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, this is something that's all new here. I don't know. I don't get that much use out of it, but I can see how like adding something like that, just choosing to spend a little bit more money to get access to a new point where you can really mess up some aliens.
Sure. Just give you more interesting choices to make.
Right. So and that's really what Defense Grid 2 is all about, is more choices. It's fundamentally very similar, but they do add like new options for how you want to upgrade your towers. There's a menu inside, out of this game that allows you to change, like specialize your towers. Like, I want this gun tower to do more. That's a concussion tower. I want this gun tower to do more damage against shields, so you can do that, but you can only do it outside of a match, which I kind of find annoying. I wish that it would allow me to do that inside a match, so I didn't have to like quit out to change my strategy. But by and large, it gives you a lot of ways to vary up your approach and to optimize your defense grid in interesting ways.
Sure. Now but more options doesn't always make for a deeper game, right? So, like, how do you feel that the Defense Grid 2, the things they've added and the new wrinkles they've created, actually deepens the game, or do you think it just needlessly complicates it?
I do miss kind of the elegant simplicity of the original. I mean, it's like if you take chess. Chess has very simple rules, but very complex applications to it.
Sure.
If you do that and allow the king to, you can either move the king across the board or give the king some other special ability. It's like that's not necessarily going to make it a better game, but it gives you more ways to play. So it's both good and bad. I don't necessarily prefer this system to. I do like the animations of the tower building and the lasers.
Yeah, I mean, the lighting effects are a pretty big step up from what the previous game was. Generally speaking, you're right. It doesn't look that much different than the original, but when you've got everything really cranked up, those lighting effects do look quite a bit snazzier than the original game did.
And there is more detail to these towers. Like you can see this thing reloading. That's something new that you didn't see in the first game. So it's a little bit more detailed in the animations. What we just saw there was some of the story pop up.
Right.
And like the first game was super surprisingly good story wise.
We're not trolling you guys. Defense Grid Awakening had a legit good story. Like, it started out, you didn't know if you were going to get anything out of it, but towards the end, it got pretty weighty.
Yeah, and just that character we just heard, fantastic. Like his voice performance is amazing, and he really actually conveyed some emotional depth to a freaking tower defense game. And what were the odds of that? So it's kind of disappointing that this game doesn't have that same story or that same emotional weight to it.
Is it his performance?
No, I mean, he's still good. He doesn't have quite the writing to work with that he did the first time around.
Uh-huh.
But it's still obviously respectable. There are a couple that aren't. A couple of voice actors. They added more voice actors, and I don't think that has benefited it. There's one guy in particular, Commander Simon, who is just eye-rollingly bad. Like, just stop talking. Like the voice. I mean, his lines aren't bad, but his script is, or his performance is just like this. I don't know. He sounds like some bad cartoon character, like Boy Scout,
like someone waiting to be riff tracked.
Sort of, kind of. I mean, it's just not good at all. So, and that combined with just an okay overall plot about defending colonies from these aliens. Yeah, it's good, but I mean the reason to play this is because there are 20 of these maps where you can compete on leaderboards against your friends. Like if I have somebody who's gotten a better score on one of these maps than me, I will tirelessly work to beat it. It's kind of compulsive because I mean what this thing allows you to do is you can take a step back anytime you want. So if something doesn't go your way, I can go poop, and I said poop.
You said you could just go poop.
Yeah, you don't do that. You go boop.
Boop is preferable. If
right.
you have to poop, that's fine too, guys. But yeah, try to boop instead.
And you just take a step back, and you can do that as much as you want. You can go back and tweak your build as much as you want.
And they give you this handy dandy heat map I see that you can use to see like where your kill zones, your most frequent kill zones are. I think that's great.
Right. That you can turn on and off. You can turn the path on and off here. But it's compulsive because it's like, oh, I know I can stop that guy if I go back, and sometimes you have to go back like 3 or 4 clicks back to really figure out how to stop them, but you can do it. And it's like, I know there's a way to do this. I'm just going to keep doing it until I figure it out.
And now there's a constant reward also for spending less resources.
Right, and that's how the score goes. Is like the fewer resources you spend to kill the most aliens, the higher your score. Which it's all about optimization, right? And yeah, it really does get its hooks in me. I love it. It's a game where I'll sit down to spend 20 minutes on it, and we'll look up and it's spent 3 hours. Like if you have too much time, this game is a solution.
So now, what about the multiplayer options? We know there's a handful of multiplayer options, and we messed around with them a little bit.
Right.
What did we get out of that experience?
There's Commander Simon. Go to hell.
Oh, die in a fire.
Yep. So multiplayer, well, it was a good try. Multiplayer tower defense, probably just not gonna be a thing. There are too many limitations to it, just fundamentally the way it works. I'm just gonna so yeah, these guys got by me, and they're gonna escape with my cores, so I'm just gonna back up.
You failed the planet. Your
Right.
disappointment to planet Earth.
Well, this is
Or whatever planet this is, you're disappointing it.
Yep. So we should also show off. You can do this. We already showed that. All right.
Yes. We should show them that, Dad.
All
It's a
right.
good thing you thought of that.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it was
The
interesting with
multiplayer.
Yeah,
right.
the multiplayer. So I think it was interesting that with the co-op, at first when I told you there was a co-op mode where, each player is designated their own areas they can build on and their own resources, you were like, well, that's kind of, your reaction was, that's kind of dumb because then, there's no real freedom to collaborate in a more fully featured way.
Well, it's like you have to coordinate super closely with your partner anyway. So what's the point? I think the more damning part about the multiplayer is that you can't do the step back and you can't speed up up time, and that really messes up the pacing and makes it much less enjoyable. Like, I do not recommend this game in multiplayer. It's not bad. It's just not nearly as good. And
especially the co-op, because then you're going to be sitting there
Right.
together, staring at the same screen with no way of speeding things through. And believe me, folks, when you've played enough tower defense and you feel like that you're, at least for this wave or the next and the next wave, your defenses are good enough. Like, you don't want to sit there for 3 minutes just watching guys slowly get roasted.
it can get real tedious.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's so good in single player just because these puzzles are really complex, and so not in multiplayer. It's kind of a shame. There are a couple of different multiplayer modes. There's also the competitive one where every time I kill something, where we're playing in parallel, and every time I kill something, it shows up on your map.
Right.
Which was kind of neat in a short term, like, hey, let's play around with this a little bit.
Just
kinda
super
way.
chaotic though.
Right. It's like stuff's warping in where you're not ready for it at all, and you can't back up. You can't fix problems like this. Like, I'm just going to back up and fix that, and I don't have to replay the entire thing to enjoy this game. And he's going to repeat the dialogue.
That's the downside of backing
Yeah.
up. You have to listen to this schlock over and over again.
I think you can turn that off. Let's see.
So
But-
there is something though that they took out that you're very happy about.
Right, no more flying enemies. Oh, the flying enemies were so bad in the first one. They were the worst part about the first one because you needed entirely different types of towers to stop them, and
Towers that were useless against everything else.
right. So you just had, and like you can see at the top of the screen, it tells you what's coming. There are no real surprises in this game, at least not for any meaningful way. So you can, but in that case, it was just not a good thing because you had to like know that was coming in that level and then plan for it ahead of time before you ever even saw one of these flying enemies.
Just sometimes a curveball on a game is interesting to hit, but this was a frustrating one to deal with.
Right. So that's gone, which is really nice. But yeah, I've already spent something like 30 hours with this game.
Oh wow!
I've gotten gold medals in each of the maps except for 2, I think, and I've still got to just go back and do those. 30 hours might be a bit much. I'm sure I left it all tabbed for a while, but I've spent a lot of time with it, and I still want to go back and do some more. In fact, I want to show you something that will for the menu here, which will show you some more replayability. So for each one of these things, there are 8 of these alternate modes you can play in, which like this one is 100 waves, so it's just like an insane amount of enemies. This one is so towers are only active when the cursor is over it, or
Right,
the
so
floor
you-
is over it.
that's
So you
right.
have to manually activate your towers. This one you can actually damage guys with your cursor. Like it's just a bunch of different varieties of these things, and each of them has their own leaderboard.
And I really like that too because one of the things that you get into a rut with tower defense, as much as I love the genre, is that you get into the situation where you've placed your defenses, and like we were saying before, you're doing a lot of waiting around, and you end up just wanting to fast forward and go through it. But this kind of gives you some of these modes give you other things to do instead of just wait around or press fast forward. The other elements that you have to kind of factor in, and it kind of makes it a more interesting challenge second to second, rather than it just being okay. Now I know to place this here and to place that there, and now I just wait to win.
Yeah, and here's the customization I was talking about. Like I can go in here, I can change how I want this tower to behave, but I can only do this before a match, which a little bit annoying, but it gives me a reason to go in and play again from the top. There are also multiple. There are more. I'm not sure why it's not showing up. I think this story mission is too early, but there are more options for your super weapon, so it's not just a super laser. So there are a bunch of different ways you can pull off just a little higher score. And somebody has beaten my score here, and I hate him now. That's gonna eat
Andy B.
Andy. All right, but yeah. So that's Defense Grid 2. I'm giving it an 8.0.
Nice.
Because
That's great.
It is great. Like I think this is a great game, just because it gets its hooks into me like that, and it's super addictive. I can spend hours and hours and hours playing this, even if the multiplayer doesn't really work very well. Like who cares? Ignore the multiplayer. But it's just such a good experience. That to play even independent of the story. And the story isn't bad, except for that one guy. Screw that guy.
And it seems like they did a really good job of doubling down on the min-maxing and score chasing that kind of goes hand in hand with playing these games over an extended period of time. So I think that was really smart for them to really drill down into what makes that compelling for people, and to really give you just that many more opportunities to manage and micromanage and min-max and chase that perfect setup.
I should add that there's also 4 different planets, so the backgrounds change up, and the level designs are pretty cool. Anyway, that is Defense Grid 2.
Sure is.
And thank you guys for watching. For everything on Defense Grid 2, stick with IGN.